guys, Crash Course U.S. History.
And today we're talking about the causes of the Civil War.
The Kansas-Nebraska Act allowed for the territory of Kansas and Nebraska to vote on slavery based on popular sovereignty. Since both sides wanted to change the outcome, mass flocks of people from either side went to Kansas. They hoped to change the outcome with numbers. However, both failed for 5 years, and there were outbreaks that involved bloodshed. The people that were pro-slavery failed, as after 5 years, both territories passed anti-slavery constitutions. This event was known as Bleeding Kansas, and it shocked the nation. Since the Wilmot Proviso did not go through, Henry Clay and Stephen Douglas pushed for the Compromise of 1850. This allowed for new states that were admitted to the Union to decide whether to allow slavery or not by popular sovereignty. Also, the Fugitive Slave Law was passed for the South. This created an imbalance between slave and free states in the Senate, and then did little to change the current tensions, but intensified them, with more Northerners opposing the Fugitive Slave Law, and each side further dividing over the issue of slavery.
Uncle Tom's Cabin, a book written by Harry Beecher Stowe, was another major cause of the Civil War. It showed the North what slavery was really like and the horrifying things involved with it. While pro-slavery people said that it was inaccurate and was only showed a one-sided view, it solidified the perspective of the abolitionists.
So now the entering of California into the Union kind of caused some problems.
Because it was on both sides of the Mason-Dixon line. Each side of the country wanted to claim it. The South because they wanted the extra slaves. And the North so they could retain more power.
Now they decided to compromise and have it become a free state. Yet the South would get the fugitive slave law, which would help them a lot to retain slaves that would escape to the North.
The Wilmot Proviso was legislation seeking to outlaw slavery in the territory acquired as a result of the Mexican-American War. David Wilmot pushed for it to pass, trying to attach it to existing bills and even just passing it on its own. It was never passed, but it did spark conversation of secession amongst the southern states. Dred Scott was a slave that was trying to sue his master and seeking after citizenship. This case made it to the Supreme Court only to have it turned down because slaves were property and could not sue in public court. They also had no right to citizenship. With this interpretation, the Compromise of 1820 was made invalid because slaves were property and therefore could be taken anywhere. The abolitionists were outraged, and this became a rallying point for them and contributed to the election of Lincoln in 1860. The first fugitive slave law was passed in 1793, and it authorized local governments to seize and return runaway slaves to their owners. Also, the governments could punish anyone who helped them escape. Since this wasn't seen as enough by the southern states, in 1850 there were more provisions regarding the runaway slaves, and it also made the punishments for aiding them harsher. The North refused even more and tried to pass legislation to circumvent this law. Abolitionists pushed twice as hard, and the Underground Railroad reached its peak in the 1850s. On October 6, 1859, Brown led a band of his followers and seized the arsenal at Harper's Ferry. It was believed that this was an attempt to arm slaves. However, Brown denied this, even though there was plenty of evidence showing otherwise. Brown was later tried and hanged, and the South at first had little reaction because they saw it at one instance, but the North made Brown a martyr, so they worried that the North wanted to fight a war against the South.
This was a time of great tribulation for the nation. As we became more and more divided, each side took drastic actions. With voting taking place for the acceptance of slavery in Kansas, terrorists ransacked a city called Lawrence. It was later revealed they had come from Missouri. After the incident, a senator named Sumner from Massachusetts gave a 2-day speech on the blocking of democracy and specifically called out a man named Brooks for defending the act of slavery.
This heinous act has cost many American lives. If it were not for people like Brooke, this conflict wouldn't even exist.
That fool's gonna get himself killed one day.
Till the very next day, bum 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 ba-dum. When the doc walked up to the lemonade stand, and he said to the man running the stand, "Hey, bum bum bum, got any grapes?" And he waddled away, waddle waddle. Then he waddled away.
The conflict also brewed over into elections. A prime example of this is the fight between Douglas and Lincoln. Both were vying for a seat in the Senate and fought viciously. It became especially heated when they came into contact in 7 head-to-head debates. In these debates, Douglas developed the Freeport Doctrine, which was,
The Supreme Court is not as important as the acts of the citizens.
But a house divided cannot stand.
Did not the founding give states free reign?
Lincoln didn't win the seat in the Senate, but he did get one thing: notoriety. This fame would help him take the Oval Office in 1860. Lincoln winning the election was one of the most immediate causes of the Civil War.
Thanks for joining us for Crash Course US History. We'd like to give a thanks to our cameraman,
Fernando.
our editor,
Fernando.
our lead actors,
Kumar.
and Clark, and our scriptwriters,
Kumar.
and Clark.
Hey.
Thanks.